Thank you. Thank you very, very much. So glad to be with you tonight. Great to hear you. All right, ladies, it's Wednesday night. Gentlemen, it's also Wednesday night. So glad to have you here. We appreciate each and every one of you being in attendance. It's not much of a show if you're not around, and it's great to see all of you. Hello to our subscribers on YouTube and our visitors. Please go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We would love to have you do so. We stay on YouTube as long as we can. When we can't stay on YouTube anymore, we'll go to another platform and we'll, of course, let you know so you can follow. And those other platforms, ladies and gentlemen, those great other platforms are Twitter, where I'm at Unindoctrinate. And then we have Twitch, we have Trovo, where I'm the Christian Whistleblower, and of course, our go to platform, which is Rockfin. And I'm the Christian Whistleblower on Rockfin as well. We really love all of our cousins. And the one thing that I want you to know above all is that you are not born with original sin. You have the spark of divinity within. You are divine. You are sovereign. You are free. And you don't have to go on bended knee to anybody else's savior. It's time to unindoctrinate yourself. Get busy. Get clear. And get the heck out of here. Get the heck out of here. Boom. That's what we're talking about. Nice to see Robert Stanley sending me some messages, talking with Robert Stanley, talking with Glenn Streeter. It's nice to see Two Trees working more and winning. Absolutely. Lots of great people flowing in. We've got some exciting information to share with you about new platforms, but we can't quite do it tonight. But I think you're going to be very, very excited. We always start with some breaking news from CNN. We don't always start with breaking news, but we start with news from CNN. And tonight I have breaking news from CNN. Oh, not that CNN. It's from the Cousins News Network, ladies and gentlemen. You are the Cousins, and we appreciate all of you. And I encourage you to go to jeffreydaugherty.com, hit the contact button, and send me information, tidbits, questions, answers that you think are newsworthy, and we will bring them to the people. You are the reporters. You are the journalists, the independent journalists of the Cousins News Network. And this jacket used to fit me, but it doesn't even come close to fitting me anymore. But breaking news, ladies and gentlemen, breaking news, boys and girls, breaking news, cousins of all ages. Rumble has been taken over by Cylons. Rumble has been invaded by Cylons. Rumble has been conquered. Rumble has been taken over by Cylons. Dan Bongino isn't even human. He just he's a Cylon, like in the new Battlestar Galactica. It's a Cylon beneath that misshapen head of his. It's a Cylon. Rumble, claiming to be a truth free speech platform, has been taken over by Cylons. How do I know? Because they deleted my channel. They're Cylons. They're liars, and they are complicit. Rumble taken over by the Cylons. Rumble taken over by the body snatchers. Bongino, not even a human, beneath that misshapen head is a Cylon robot. Don't fall for it anymore. Well, Jima, unfortunately, the jacket is one of those super cheap ones I got off the internet from China or somewhere. So it probably costs more to take in the jacket than it costs to buy the jacket. So, it looks pretty good on camera. So I'll just kind of button it and we'll go from there. Bongino is definitely controlled opposition. But anyway, we got kicked off of Rumble. That's all right. I've been thrown out of better places than that. And anyway, here we go. Let's talk about some news. Let's talk about some news from Get Dagger north of the border. He informs us that the Calgary, and I think sometimes the uh, the the Canadians like to say Calgary. I think I don't want. How do I get that to stop? The Calgary firefighters, are going silent for an hour because they are protesting forced swimming. Rebel News is reporting that the firefighters in Calgary are going to go, they are going to be silent for an hour because they are protesting force swimming. They are protesting forced swimming. So we're seeing more and more of it. We're seeing more and more people. We're seeing more and more organizations. We're seeing more and more people stand up. And I'm so glad to hear it. So, salute to the firefighters in Calgary. I'm so glad that they are taking a stand. And if you're in Calgary and you see a firefighter, make sure you give them your support because they deserve it. And forced swimming is pathetic. And we got something from Hannah. Hannah says, here's a love letter from Janet Yellen to Nasty Pelosi about our October surprise. Let me see if I can pull this up. Let's see what happens, ladies and gentlemen. If we can pull this up, it should be interesting. So here we go. The file cannot be accessed. That doesn't surprise me at all. Let me try one more. Oh, I see what she did. She made a mistake there. So she put too many slashes in there. Let me go ahead and paste it. And I'll remove one of the forward slashes, and that should make it work. Boom. We're waiting. We're waiting. The file still can't be accessed. Well, sorry, Hannah. Now you got us all really interested, but supposedly there's a letter from Janet Yellen to Nasty Pelosi talking about an October surprise. Well, I guess it's going to be a surprise to all of us because I can't access it. Renita sends us something that's very interesting, and I never thought about it. I've seen it, I've known of it, but I didn't really consider the full implications of it. But let's look at this because the implications are rather large. This is a church. This is a church. That is the steeple. If you open the door, you'd see all the people. You've heard that little rhyme. But this is a church. And obviously, they've allowed their steeple to be used as a tower for, I don't know, 5G, whatever that is, microwaves, whatever. And it's bad enough that the church would prostitute their steeple, that they would prostitute their steeple to those type of antennas. That's super ugly, but I guess they don't care. If I was going to that church, I'd be ticked off. But Renita makes a great comment and raises a great question. What are these things? Well, these are steeples, and generally these are just hollow inside. They got the crossover, on top of them, the human torture implement. But she asks, what are they transmitting? Are they transmitting something? Actually, if you get way back into the origins, the steeple probably represents the erect penis. Oh man, I didn't start the radio. And hello, KYAH, a little late, my bad. Got thrown off of Rumble today, a little bit, out of sorts. So I apologize for being late. And I can't believe it. Can't believe it. So sorry about that, but we're glad to have you in the house, KYAH. It's late night in the heartland. I'm Jeffery Daugherty, the Christian whistleblower, your mailman. So It's supposed to be an erect penis. That's what they represent. But what are they broadcasting? You know they're broadcasting something. Do the erect penises on top of churches, aka steeples, do they broadcast energetically to the surrounding areas? Do they broadcast energetically and connect energetically with all the other steeples on all of the other churches? Interesting speculations. Human experiences, do they create an energetic portal for entities to come in and leave? You know, we know about energy, we know about intention. And if you got a bunch of people in this church, minds focused, and they are projecting energy, who's to say it doesn't go up through the steeple and be projected? And who's to say that it can't be received in other places? And who's to say that it doesn't network itself? We know the trees do that. We know about the wood wide network. The trees do share information. The trees do communicate, and they'll communicate with you too. They'll communicate with you too if you allow them. But that's a great question, Renita. You got me thinking. And you just might be right. I don't think the church here in our little gated community has a steeple. Thank goodness, as Cynthia says that she's glad we live in the sticks. I am too. I really am. What did Cynthia send me here, and can I play it? Let's see. I can. I just have to wait for these silly people to get their commercial through. But hey, we're not against YouTube commercials. Okay, here we go. What is this is the one I put on my my Rockfin today, and this is good. This is really good. Yeah, I think I can play this. We live dangerously around here. So let's go ahead and play this. This is also on my Rockfin, so you can check it out there if you don't get enough of it here. But watch this, ladies and gentlemen, and listen. It's only a minute. It's very interesting. I think you'll like it. Here we go. Well, let's unmute it. Let's turn it up and let's roll it.
Chinese biological laboratory in Wuhan is owned by GlaxoSmithKline, which owns Pfizer, the one who makes the injection against the virus, which was started in the biological laboratory in Wuhan, which was funded by Dr. Fauci, the one who promotes the injection on the world stage. GlaxoSmithKline is managed by the finance division of BlackRock, which manages the finances of the Open Foundation Group, the Soros Foundation, which manages the French AXA Group. Soros owns the German company Winterthur, which built a Chinese laboratory in Wuhan and was bought by the German Allianz, which coincidentally has Vanguard as a shareholder, who is a shareholder itself of BlackRock, which controls the central banks and manages a third of global investment capital. BlackRock is also coincidentally a major shareholder of Microsoft, owned by the eugenicist himself, Bill Gates, who coincidentally is the shareholder of BioNTech and Pfizer, which, remember, sells a miracle injection, and coincidentally was the first sponsor of the World Health Organization of the United Nations. Now, that should help you understand more about how a dead bat sold at a wet market in Wuhan has apparently infected the entire planet. I will leave it at that.
Well done, sir. Well done, my Irish brother. That was good stuff. That was good stuff. Think about it. Think about it. Wow, that was really, really good stuff. And from two trees, the Australian truckers beat their government. We can too. Armstrong Economics is reporting that the truckie swimming has been halted. The Truckee swimming, no, it's not a replay, Renee. The Truckee swimming plan has been scrapped. The Australian government is claiming that truckers pose a danger because they were spreading cooties across the country. They ordered the truckers to go swimming or lose their jobs. They refused to show up at work, and others blocked the roads. The Western culture of freedom is falling into the final bastion of the once free world, spiraling down into a new sort of dark age. The politicians are promised by the so-called elite that they will be the cream of the crop and always rise above the great unwashed. The so-called elite above them thinks they can simply bribe their way through anything, like a queen bee transforming us into worker bees to support their hive of power. But the true power really rests with those that the pseudo-elite call the great unwashed. For throughout history, the so-called elite end up with their heads paraded among the streets on spikes. The real power to change the world always resides in our hands. For if we simply refuse to work, refuse to pay our taxes, go to livefreenow.org. Tell them Jeffrey Daugherty sent you. We shut down their hive. What if everyone stood up and refused to pay taxes? Sure, they can prosecute a small group, but they can't prosecute everyone. What the truckers have shown to the world is that even the political elite starve without food, transportation. Hence, the power always resides with we, the people. The people always think, these people always think that they're the nation and become drunk on their own power, ignoring that they are nothing without we, the people. They are nothing without we, the cousins. Thank you, Two Trees, for that piece of information. And it all comes to you on CNN, the Cousins News Network. The Cousins News Network. And Cynthia reports to us that an Israeli organ smuggling mastermind has been arrested in Cyprus. Moshe, which is Moses, Harel, is accused of managing dozens of illegal kidney transplants at a Kosovo clinic. Wow. The chosen people have some chosen organs. Maybe it was a liver, and he had it with a nice Chianti. I don't know. Maybe. Wow, we're running. This is safe news I'm at. This is safe news. Let's see. I already did that one, I believe. Yes, I did that one. So let's venture over into the regular late night in the heartland fodder. And let's see if there's anything that I might be able to massage and bring to you, even though we're on YouTube. Well, we like to live dangerously. And Two Trees says to us that the video is disturbing, but it portrays why John Armstrong believes that Australia will not last past 2032. Two Trees says, in his view, that's a little bit optimistic. And is this a video, or is it? It is a video, but in Australia, the government and the police have simply gone insane. And please don't drop things in the chat unless you have receipts for them, because we got to have receipts. In Australia, the government and the police have gone insane. They've created mandatory quarantine confinement, much like isolated confinement in a prison, where suicide is always very high. Many people simply cannot psychologically handle being confined in isolation. In Australia, they're putting people's lives at risk. Here is a man going crazy after 2 weeks of isolation and 9 tests that were all negative for cooties. This is what people are starting to call cootie concentration camps. The police will also beat people and threaten to gas them. The treatment in prison is not this bad, for they have doctors to monitor the psychological impact on people in isolation, which is totally absent in this environment. That qualifies for the international definition of cruel and unusual punishment. I want to share a little bit of this cootie crazy guy, and we're not making fun of him. We're just stating that they're stating that he went cootie crazy. And let's see what they're talking about here. Let me make sure that the sound is up. It is. Whoops. I don't want that. Let me make sure the sound is up, and it is. Let's see if it'll play. And if it will, I'll make it large. Here it is. Let's see. Oh, this guy is going crazy somewhere. Where is he? Whoops. So anyway, he's yelling and he's screaming. We're on the radio, so we can't really do this. But this guy has been in isolation and he's going crazy. And I understand exactly what's going on with him. It is an absolute shame what they're doing to the great people of Australia, the great nation of Australia. It's just terrible. It's just terrible. Wow. Just terrible. Again, please bring receipts before you put questionable comment into the chat, because I don't want to have to delete it, but I will. We have to maintain very strict standards because you only get one chance to make a first impression. You know that. You've heard that before. Cabin fever, says Jama. What else do we have here? Up in Canada, more good news. It looks like the firefighters and the state troopers. Oh, this is in Oregon. The Western Journal is reporting that firefighters and state troopers have banded together, and they're suing their own governor in a massive court case. Some of Oregon's bravest and finest are fighting back against a cootie swimming mandate issued by Democratic Governor Kate Brown. Didn't she used to be on Charlie Angels? I'm kidding. A group of Oregon State Police troopers and firefighters from Klamath County down in southern Oregon, away from the communists in the Willamette Valley, they filed suit just days after the Oregon State Trooper who called Brown Miss Governor was placed on leave for taking to social media with his opposition to the swimming mandate, according to the Oregonian, which is the Portland Communist Oregon. Brown is being sued by the Oregon Fraternal Order of Police, along with troopers from various communities around the state and the Kingsley Firefighters Association, which represents the Kingsley firefighters. The lawsuit has nothing to do with the efficacy of the swimming. It has to do with having their jobs held over their heads, with very few exceptions, none of which apply here. All speech and expressive conduct are constitutionally protected, the lawsuit said. Plaintiffs' rights to control their own medical destinies is both expressive free speech in the form of opposition to the cootie swimming and expressive conduct in opposition to the cootie shot mandate. The lawsuit said that the Oregon law precludes employers from requiring cootie shots as a condition of employment. Firing state workers for failure to knuckle under to Brown's order, as she proposes, is illegal, the suit says. So salute to the firefighters and the state troopers in the state of Oregon. Dagger says it is starting. We can only hope that it really is starting. We can only hope that it really is starting. Son of a victim of a faux banner warns what he called the killer in chief, Joe Biden. And he warns him, do not show your face at ground zero. Now, I hesitate a little bit on this, but we'll give this person the benefit of the doubt, and we will laud them for standing up and being called and calling out. The son of a supposed victim of the event in New York warned President Biden not to attend any memorials while calling the president the killer in chief. Nick Harrows Jr. Told Fox and Friends on Monday morning that he wants the release of previously classified documents regarding the attacks. And yeah, at least somebody's standing up to, and calling out Joe Biden. I'm good for that. Antifa member shoots a anti-swimming protester. Oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen. Conservative activist shot by Antifa at an anti-swimming mandate rally in Olympia, Washington. Mr. Tiny Tosi was shot during a protest against mandatory swimming on Saturday. It appears that 5 shots were fired and he was hit once in the ankle. He was taken to a hospital and underwent surgery. Let me get this straight. Big, bad, rough and tough Antifa shoots 5 times and hits him once in the ankle. Folks, I am not afraid of these people. I am not worried about these people. Not at all. The Daily Wire is reporting that satellite photos have emerged of 6 airplanes set to carry Americans that the Taliban will not allow to leave. This was from September 5. A satellite image was released on Sunday, reportedly showing 6 airplanes that the Taliban is not allowing to fly out of Afghanistan. These planes are supposed to be carrying American citizens and Afghan interpreters who helped the U.S. military. Daniel Lipman, a reporter at Politico, tweeted out a photo from Maxar Technologies writing, newly released satellite images show 6 commercial airplanes at Mazar East Sharif Airport in northern Afghanistan that are not being allowed to depart by the Taliban, but there's still Americans there, and we've brought tens of thousands of Afghanis here. How is that even possible? This warms my heart. This warms my heart. A restaurant in my home state of Florida tells Biden supporters to take their business elsewhere. Take their business elsewhere. A restaurant in Florida has a message for Joe Biden supporters. Go eat somewhere else. Angie Ugarte, owner of the DeBerry Diner in DeBerry, Florida, posted a sign on her restaurant's front door. And it directs supporters of Joe Biden to find somewhere else to eat. She said she posted the message on the day that 13 U.S. service members died from a terror attack in Afghanistan during the U.S. withdrawal. If you voted for and continue to support and stand behind the worthless, inept, and corrupt administration currently inhabiting the White House that is complicit in the death of our servicemen and women in Afghanistan, please take your business elsewhere, the sign says. She felt like it was the only thing that she could do. She's angry. She's let down. She feels like one of the mothers or wives or sisters who is going to get that knock at the door. I've had people come to the door, look at it, turn around and walk away. And she's had people come to her kitchen while she's cooking and say, hey, I love your sign. So if you're ever in DeBerry, Florida, please go and eat at this great restaurant. What's it called? I don't think it told us what. Oh, the DeBerry Diner. Please go and patronize the DeBerry Diner if you're in DeBerry, Florida. That's a great message. That kind of warms my heart. And again, another report from Epoch Times that the Taliban is holding Americans hostage. What else we got here? Lots of good stuff. Lots of good stuff. 140,000 French citizens protest against Cootie shot passports. I'm not even going to read that. That's so stupid. Let's see. I think we're just going to leave it at that. We've had a good solid half an hour of the Cousins News Network, CNN. And let's see, I think that's about all that we can do safely here anyway, since we're on YouTube. So this has been False Flag Week. Oops, I forgot about that. It's been Faux Banner Week. We started out on Monday. Let me reference my Rockfin channel so I can get things right, because I'm so busy. The days run together. We started out on Monday talking about the seeds of tyranny, the beginning, the faux banner of the U.S., the American Revolution. Yesterday, we talked about the seeds of tyranny, and we talked about the faux banners in regards to the Lincoln's War, the War of Northern Aggression that some people call the Civil War here in the United States. Tonight, we're going to look at the seeds of tyranny as regards the world wars. We'll just start into that. Tomorrow night, we'll finish up with the world wars, and that will get us ready for tomorrow night. We're calling it Destruction of Germany. We'll look at World War I, World War II in depth. And then on Friday, we're aiming for this, false flags in America, and it'll be about 9/11. And I look for that to be a more than 3-hour normal broadcast, but we'll see. But that's what we've been doing all week long. And all of these videos are posted at jeffreydaugherty.com. They're also all posted at Rockfin. So please go there, check them out so you can be up to date with our latest information. My email address is jeffrey@jeffreydaugherty.com, or you can just go to jeffreydaugherty.com and hit the contact button. It's that simple. Let's see if there's anything else I need to check out here. Catherine L is there. John Peters is there. Nice to see all of you guys. It's a pleasure to have you. And you just need to remember that if something freezes up for you, it's probably just for you. Just refresh your system, restart if you have to. Takes care of 99% things. And M's reporting that, and I saw this, M's reporting that Biden is planning to announce more COVID measures. I think he's going to talk about a international summit. I think that's what it is. An international summit. That's all. That's all I think he's going to do. That's all that I think he's going to do. So let's go ahead and jump into our subject for the night. But first, it's very important, especially since we're on YouTube. I want to let you know about Nanosoma. Nanosoma is a fantastic product. Our show is brought to you by Nanosoma. It optimizes your body to heal and cleanse itself. That's so important, because if you've been forced to go swimming, maybe you got pushed in the pool, maybe you just weren't thinking straight and you went swimming, and now you're worried about getting that swimmer's ear. Well, all you have to do is get the nanosoma, take it, and it will allow your body to dump out of it anything and everything that is not supposed to be there. When you go swimming, it forces your cells to open the cell receptors that aren't supposed to be opened. Nanosoma reminds them, hey, you're not supposed to be open. And they close themselves down. And the ones that get closed to keep things in your cells that you get from swimming, those are open. So it's very, very important. Even though we don't promote nanosoma to heal anything, it does optimize your body and allows your body to do what it does best. That's heal itself. So go to jeffreydaugherty.com, come down below the videos, click on the nanosoma button. We're just about out of the back order status. So go ahead and get double what you think you need just in case it goes back on back order status. We're trying to, and I say we, I don't have anything to do with that. It's Richard, Dr. Presser's business. And we just support them, and we just make the great nanosoma available to you. So nanosoma, our great sponsor. Let's get into what we're going to get into, and that is another edition on the seeds of tyranny. And this one is going to focus on the run up, the preludes, and the real story to the world wars. You can't understand the world wars until you understand what is behind the world wars. And it's so sad that Rumble gets conquered by the Cylons, but you know what? It is what it is. And there's just a bunch of fake, nasty, terrible people trying to take advantage of us. So, with that in mind, folks, let's look now at the world wars. Let's look at the seeds of tyranny. Let's look at faux banners in the United States. You're listening to Late Night in the Heartland, and I'm your host, Jeffrey Daugherty, your mailman and the Christian whistleblower. Ready or not, here we go. So, the World Revolution. And I based most of this study, or at least started this study, in the book, The Controversy of Zion by Douglas Reed. If you haven't read this book, it's one of the 3 books you must read. You must read, in my opinion, Caesar's Messiah. You must read, in my opinion, Not in His Image. And you must read The Controversy of Zion. And I also think you should read My Struggle. And that's a English version of the title of that book, because we don't want to get thrown off YouTube just yet. We don't want to get thrown off YouTube just yet. But those are books that you need to read. And the 19th century in the West was different from the 18 preceding centuries because it was marked by the emergence of 2 movements with converging aims, which by the end of the 19th century, going into the 20th century, had come to dominate all its affairs. One of those movements was Cylonism. And Cylonism is aimed at reassembling a dispersed nation in a territory promised it by an alien god. And the second movement, communism, aimed at the destruction of nations as such. So if you think about how those things go together, you've got the one ism, Cylonism, which has as its whole goal getting back together a nation that has been dispersed, allegedly. That's their whole goal, to get a nation that's been dispersed back together. Yet, communism is aimed at destroying all nations. Put them together, and what have you got? You've got joint movements, which really might be one movement. We'll study that. You've got joint movements that are aimed at destroying all nations while reestablishing one single one. I'm going to ask you nicely one more time not to share things in my chat without receipts and not to fear porn our channel. And as much as I care about you, as much as I like you, as much as I'm so glad that you're here, if you've been listening to me since the day before I went on YouTube and you still put in fear porn or you still put in things that you don't have receipts for, I will still knock you out of the chat. We have a responsibility to be above all possible questioning. We have a responsibility to be better than everybody else. We have a responsibility to make sure that our information is 100% true and accurate. And I will not allow anyone to come into my chat, my channel, and post things that are not backed with receipts or I should say, that are fear porn. I simply won't allow it. I love you. I appreciate you. But this is like the third time I've said it, and I'm taking time out of a program to once again nicely tell you, stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Or it's going to happen. So please stop it. All righty. Now, you've got these two things that are kind of coinciding aims, right? And like Just the Hound says, it's not that hard. You listen first, then you ask questions. And really, it's a call-in show, so you should hold it until it's time to call in. But one of these movements is aimed at reassembling one nation. The other movement is aimed at destroying all the other nations. And in truth, these movements run on parallel tracks, and they don't run on any type of head-on collision. The objective historian's task is to find out, if possible, and I think it is, what relationship exists, if any, between the organizers of Ceylon-ism and world revolution. That's the question that we have. That's the question that we have. That's the responsibility that we have. No rumors have receipts. Thank you, Jama. Exactly. If such a relationship can be shown, if we can show a relationship between Ceylonism and communism, the pattern of the last 170 years prefigures the shape of coming events. And in that case, communism and world revolution have been the handmaids of the Cylons. Joe Sapien says that the communist Habadist goal is to make one global Frankenstein nation out of many fractured nations. I'll go with that, Joe. I'll go with that. The last 3 centuries have seen the undeniable decline of the West and of West men. The 17th centuries before the last 3 saw a steady march of Western achievement. And I'm proud of that as a West man. The world had never before seen man so improve his own state and his conduct towards others. Even warfare had become subject to a civilized code, and today they're breaking that code. It's called the Nuremberg Code, and they're breaking it. So the future seemed certain to continue this upward process because man was improving. The West was leading a resurgence. You know, they call the Dark Ages. It was really the Renaissance. It was the best time. We were learning, we were growing, we were expanding. The life expectancy exploded, literacy exploded, hunger was shrinking. 17 centuries when the world was led by the West and by West men, we were growing, expanding, and becoming better and better and better. And we just fell victim to believing that it's been so good for 1700 years, it's just going to keep getting better. However, we ran smack dab into something called Newton's third law of motion. And we found out that it also applies to humans. Do you know what Newton's third law of motion says? Newton's third law of motion says for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. You see where I'm going with this? The great action of the West, the great action of West men, for 1700 years, it was uninterrupted. We were getting better and better, and we should have seen it coming. We should have known that our great positive actions, sooner or later, had to spawn an equal and at least attempting to be opposite reaction. Now, I've always been kind of a fan of Isaac Newton because this explains a lot of things spiritually, or it helps. But again, it's so important to keep studying. It's so important to keep learning. I thought that I knew. I thought that I understand. I thought that I had it, but I'm still learning. I'm still learning. And when I was going through this great book, The Controversy of Zion, and he mentioned equal and opposite reactions, Newton's law, something said to me, look into Newton. Look into Isaac Newton. Sir Isaac Newton, there's your first clue. Look into Isaac Newton. Actually, I guess sir is your first clue. And your second clue is Isaac. His name is Isaac, as in Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Now, that in itself doesn't mean anything, but we put dots together. So, sir, royalty, Isaac, and then Newton, like the big fig Newton. Anyway, and then I recognized he was born on Christmas Day. So he's royalty. He's got a Yehudan name. He's born on Christmas Day. Wow. These are not in themselves indicative of anything, but these things are what you call breadcrumbs. You notice them, you're like, oh, that's odd. Ooh, that's odd. Ooh, that's odd. And when you have a few that's odds that get put together, will you please stop at the fig Newtons? I love fig Newtons. I started it, I know. I love fig Newtons, but fig Newtons are full of carbohydrates. And I don't eat carbohydrates. It's been over a year now. No carbs. Cynthia, it's been over a year that I have not had any carbs. And today I woke up and had lost more weight. I do love the big fig, but I can't eat it because it has carbohydrate. Ooey gooey, rich and chewy inside. Tender, flaky, golden cakey outside. Oh, yeah. I remember the song. Anyway, Joe says it's probably not a coincidence. Well, let's keep looking, Joe. Newton's private beliefs have always been under the radar, strangely so. But upon his death in 1727, a very big box, not just a big box, but a very, very big box of unusual papers was discovered in one of Sir Isaac Newton's rooms. Bishop Samuel Horsley, who was a scientist, was asked to inspect the box and think about maybe, oh, damn you, Tracy Dyer, you're a horrible person. She just said Little Debbie. And if there's anything that I like eating more than Little Debbie, It's Swiss rolls. Swiss rolls, man. Fig Newtons and Swiss rolls. Now you know why I had to lose over 60 pounds, because my idea of fitness was trying to fitness little Debbie in my mouth. But anyway, we'll move on. We will move on from that. Thanks, Jamin. Jamin says she likes to eat little Debbie too. Anyway, folks. And when he looked in this box, he slammed the lid down in horror, as the writer Bernard Cohen says. The recent disclosure of Newton's private manuscripts revealed that Newton was far from the archetype rationalist he was originally assumed to be. This comes from AISH.com, which, by the way, is a Yehudan website. Sir Isaac Newton, just who was he? Well, and it's interesting that Newton is tied to an apple. It is very interesting. I'll see your apple, and I'll take it another level, Tracy. He's also tied to an apple at a tree. Because remember, he was leaning up against the tree. The apple supposedly fell and hit him on the head. So now we got apple and we got tree. Boom. Please don't feed the trolls in the Rockfin chat room. I can't get rid of them. Everybody's entitled to free speech, but that doesn't mean that we have to pretend they're real people. We can ignore them and they'll go away. Sure, Tracy. Tracy says that's what she was referring to. Uh-huh. Right, Dyer, right. Anyway, the Babson family in America and Israeli professor Avraham Shalom Yehuda. Have you ever heard of a more Jewish name than Avraham Shalom Yehuda? Anyway, he bought the majority of these papers and he donated them to university libraries around the world. The manuscripts have been made available only in the last 25 years. Isn't that interesting? They were found in 1727, 1827, 1927. That's like 300 years. Like 300 years. And they've only been available the last 25. So over 200 years. Sir Isaac Newton's papers have been hidden from us. Why? Well, maybe it's because Sir Isaac Newton's manuscripts have revealed that he took a keen interest in archaic Jewish wisdom. It's also been revealed that Newton's knowledge of Jewish thought was not superficial. He referred to rabbinic works such as the Aramaic version of Esther, the Vayikra Rabbah, the commentaries of Sa'adia Hagon, Ibn Ezra, Rashi, Sifra, Aaron Ibn Hayim, Seder Ma Amadat about the daily sacrifices. That's interesting. The Bartanura and Talmudic passages from the Babylonian and Jerusalem Talmud in Latin. One of Newton's manuscripts was entitled On Maimonides, where he quoted the Latin translation of the famous Rabbi Maimonides' Mishnah Torah. Very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. And wait, there's more. But the content in Newton's notes should not really have come as such a big surprise, given the, I'm sorry, I got distracted by the chat, given the collections in his library. Newton kept 5 works of Maimonides in his library. He also owned a Latin commentary on Maimonides that references the Moreh Nevuchim, the guide to the perplexed, Maimonides' reconciliation of Torah with science and philosophy. This particular work seems to have had a significant impact on Newton's philosophy. The harmony between scripture, so-called, and we're talking about Jewish scripture, and science was a theme threaded throughout many of Newton's works. And by the way, Newton is one of the champions of the idea that we live on a spinning ball. He got that one from ancient Yahudan wisdom as well. And his love of ancient Yahudan wisdom carried throughout all of his theological and scientific pursuits, much like one Louis Pasteur. Do you remember just a week or so ago, maybe 2 weeks, time flies when you're having fun? And cousins, let me tell you something. I am always having fun. You remember we talked about Louis Pasteur. Louis Pasteur, who invented swimming. Louis Pasteur, who got the idea of swimming from a Yehudan spy that recruited him and got him to look in the Talmud. That's where he got his idea for the rabies shot. All of you people talking about follow the science, follow the science. Well, that was supposed to sound like ancient Chinese secrets. The science is from the Talmud. Trust the science. The science doesn't come from science. The science comes from the Talmud. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. Wow, that's powerful stuff. Pasteur got the whole idea of vaccination. Pasteur got the whole idea for germ theory from the Talmud. Go look up the video on my Rockfin channel. It's called, let me look down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's 7 rows down. It's called Germ, Host, Dollars and Jabs, at the core of Xiocom takeover from the start. Never heard before data. It's right there on Rockfin. Go check it out, cousins. And visitors, go check it out. Both Newton and Pasteur getting their quote-unquote science from the Talmud. Wow. Maynard Keynes, the scholar who studied Newton's manuscripts, summarized his findings in the honor of the 300th anniversary of Newton's death. Keynes explained that Newton's beliefs were influenced by Maimonides' philosophy. Maimonides is perhaps the most famous rabbi of all time. Keynes described Newton as a Judaic monotheist of the school of Maimonides. Ladies and gentlemen, if you can accurately be described as a Judaic monotheist of the school of Maimonides, that means you're Jewish. That means you're Jewish. If you are a Judaic monotheist of the school of Maimonides, you're Jewish. Even if you say you're not. We talked about that last night. The synagogue of Satan are those that are Jews but say they're not. And again, we have Jewish people on this program. We had 2 great Jewish people on this program lately. We don't have a problem with the Jewish people. We have a problem with the Cylon people. And the Cylons have came and conquered even many of our great Jewish population. So don't give me that stuff. Like sitting at the feet of Gamaliel. Who did that? Oh, yeah. Plastic Jesus and Paul. Now, isn't that interesting? Anyway, so he's Jewish. Sir Isaac Newton, Yehudan, Cylon. They captured Bongino and they captured Isaac Newton, the Cylons. The Cylons. The Cylons. We don't use that word in this chat room, Northwest rigging. We don't allow racial slurs in this chat room. In his work, The Principia, the Principles, Newton rejected the concept of deity for the belief in the Jewish monotheistic concept of God. Newton's leanings were not limited to the intellectual sphere. He appears to have kept the Noahide laws at least. Nosy. The term nosy has a whole new meaning. Now that's interesting, 3-inch Abe. That's really interesting. What did Joe say? Oh, boom, boom. That does deserve a rim shot. Joe said, they seem to have their nose in everything. Oh, that's good stuff. That's really good stuff. Oh, wow. Wow, wow, wow. And Ardor de Leon says that John Maynard Keynes, that we're talking about, was also the economist that brought communism into the mainstream with his big government ideas. I love this chat room. I love this chat room. James Sharp, don't give away my stuff yet. Good work. He was Yehudin. He was Yehudin. Does it matter? Well, I don't tell you if it matters or not. I just tell you. To quote in his own words, Sir Isaac Big Fig Newton, in theological manuscripts he wrote, although the precepts of Noah are not as perfect as the religion of the scripture, that's the Old Testament. That's what he's talking about, the Talmud. He thought the Talmud was perfect. They suffice for salvation indeed, as the rabbis taught, and that's what Newton said, as the rabbis taught, Jews have admitted into their gates heathens who accepted Noah's precepts, but had not converted to the law of Moses. So here we are, hundreds and hundreds of years before our current situation, and the guy is already setting us up. What may have irked scientists more than Newton's private beliefs, and that's, speculative, but it was how he applied these beliefs to his theological and scientific studies. Parallels of Newton's philosophy and Maimonides' teachings are interwoven in his manuscripts. Do you understand what that says? That says that the scientific works of Sir Isaac Newton are riddled with Talmudic teachings, just like the scientific writings of Louis Pasteur. Are there any more foundational things in our world than Pasteur's belief in vaccination? Is there anything more foundational in our world than Pasteur's belief in championing of germ theory? Is there anything more foundational in our world than Newton and his belief that we live on a spinning ball? And all of these ideas, every one of those ideas, germ theory, vaccination, you live on a spinning ball, those all three came from the Talmud. They all three came from the Talmud. Joe asks, how much of what is taught is from the scientific method, which is observe, theorize, and experiment, and how much is from what is taught from the Talmud? That's a great, great question. And I agree with Tracy Dyer. She says all of those things are false. Nice to see you in Virginia Beach. Sterling agrees. I'm so glad. Thank you very much. Wow. This is really, really good stuff. And so is Focus Life Force Energy. It's really, really good stuff. They send you a high consciousness environment right to your home. They send it right to your phone. They send it right to your home. They send it right to your phone. And it takes your devices and takes the EMFs that they produce, neutralizes them, or even recalibrates them to be beneficial to you. That's powerful. Go to jeffreydaugherty.com. Come under the videos. Click on Focus Life Force Energy. You can get a 30-day trial, 15 on the phone, 15 on the home. Fantastic. For example, Newton used Maimonides' laws of sanctification of the new moon in his notes on considerations about rectifying the Julian calendar, just like Louis Pasteur. Just like Louis Pasteur. Newton studied the measurements of Solomon's temple. What is Jesuit, Zionist, Christian eschatology all about? That temple, the third temple. He studied the measurements of the first temple. He studied the measurements of the third temple to come to a greater understanding of the earth's dimensions. Do you hear what I'm saying? The idea that you live on a spinning ball comes from a guy who got his information from studying the third temple of the Jesuits and from studying the first temple that Solomon employed demonic workers to build. The same people that brought you the idea that you live on a spinning ball. Just something for you to think about. And in case you hadn't guessed it yet, he was also a Freemason, and he understood that the temple was a microcosm of the earth. Oh, he probably wasn't Jewish. Come on. And the temple revealed the works of God, who was the world's greatest architect. The great architect. Yeah, he was Freemason. We'll prove that in a minute. Isaac Newton was seminal in the invention of Freemasonry. Freemasonry, of course, famous and replete for crypto jewelry and Jesuitism. And it allowed Newton and other like-minded associates, i.e. crypto Jews, to free themselves of the Christian church's monopoly on the intellectual milieu of the time. In other words, Jews were not allowed, so they just became Freemasons, they just became Jesuits, and they stayed Jews. Again, like I showed you last night, the synagogue of Satan, the gathering of the adversaries, are full of those that are Jews and say they're not, just like all of your prophecy pimps on YouTube, every single one of them. If they talk about prophecy, they're Jesuit. If they're Jesuit, they're crypto Yehudin, period. And if any of them ever find their testicles and want to debate me, you know where to find me. But I won't hold my breath. I shall not hold my breath. Much of Newton's private life, as well as some of the drafts of his scientific works, is still hidden from us. Gee, I wonder why. Perhaps that's no wonder, and it's no wonder why he hid his true identity and his means of study from the public. He would have likely been ostracized and his scientific discoveries immediately dismissed, which is why he became a Freemason, a Jesuit, a crypto Yehudin. Very simple, folks. You don't have to like the facts, but the facts are facts, and sometimes they're very, very persistent. Kind of like me. Kind of like me. I love getting stuff from Robert Stanley. I love getting stuff from Robert Stanley. Alrighty then. Sarah Dry, who was the author of the Newton Papers, notes that gaps in his original draft of the principles were there because he deliberately concealed them, says Dry. And it's because Newton didn't want people to know how he had come to his knowledge. I think that might relate to his religious beliefs. She's saying he's a crypto Jew. So Newton left gaps even in his scientific research, quote unquote, so that you would know that he was a Jew. Sir Isaac Newton was a crypto-Jew, a Jesuit, and a Freemason, which is very redundant, but yet there it is. Newton's outstanding discoveries single him out as one of the greatest scientific influencers of all time. Perhaps now we can add his attempt to reconcile ancient scripture with science as yet another unique, albeit undervalued, accomplishment of Sir Isaac Newton. Think about what Sarah just said there. Think about what Sarah just said there. Lorraine, if you pay attention, you will know the answers to those questions. And there's a little thing called the backup button. You can go back, you can go forward, you can go forward, you can go back. You can even listen to it again, but you're not going to get to open your mouth and have the airplane come in and give you the answer. Sorry, it doesn't work that way here. You got to study, girl. You got to pay attention. Newton is just like Pasteur. And I love Bangladesh, Ron. Nice to see you. Newton's fascination with scripted prophecy confirms his Jesuit complicity. Newton wrote a book called Observations Upon the Prophecies of Daniel and the Apocalypse of St. John. Now, I couldn't help but notice that it's an excellent companion volume to the original work of Jesuit eschatology, which was called In Sacrum Beati Ioannis Apostoli and Evangeliste Apocalypsin Commentari by the Jesuit priest Francisco Ribera. That actually kind of means something like the sacred writings of John the Apostle and commentary on the Apocalypse, which is the book of Revelation. You know, if you think that that's what Newton was referencing to. So Newton was just updating the original Jesuit eschatology with some new Jesuit eschatology. It was one Jesuit helping another Jesuit, and I'm going to say it again because some of you still don't get it. Every single thing you know that is Bible prophecy, every single thing you know. And if you want, you can put in the chat room, is this? Because I'm telling you, every single thing you know that is prophecy was invented by the Jesuits, specifically by Jesuit priest Francisco Ribera and by crypto-Jew, Yahudin, Jesuit, Freemason, Sir Isaac Newton. Every single thing that you call prophecy, name something that's prophecy. The rapture, Ribera. The tribulation, Ribera. The future third temple, Ribera. The two witnesses, Ribera. 1260 days, Ribera. Revelation's future, Ribera. The Whore of Babylon's future, Ribera. It's all Ribera, who's Jesuit. Up until Francisco Ribera wrote his book, there was no such thing as eschatology. There was no such thing as Bible prophecy, because the people that just read the script and didn't go to private interpretation understood that the script had all been fulfilled by AD 70, AD 100 at the latest. And they all knew that the Bible, if it has prophecy, it's all been fulfilled already. And anybody that tells you anything else is Jesuit. They are Jews, but say they're not. Any of them, all of them. I'm standing right here waiting for you to step to the mic and have the guts to debate. And still, I wait. It's so funny. I look at their channel sometimes. Where are the debaters? Who will stand? I'll debate anybody. Well, except Jeffery Daugherty, because he'll kick my butt up around my ears. And you're right. But I do it like a gentleman. I do it according to Robert's Rules of Order. I do it according to scholarly protocols. I agree with you, Twilight Traveler. I agree with you on that. I'm glad I can entertain Tracy. And one of the cousins was a little ahead of me on this one. Newton moved to London to take up the post of the Warden of the Royal Mint. Oh boy, he was involved in the money too. He took charge of England's great recoining. He took charge of making the coins for England. And guess what? What does the mark of the beast mean in Greek? It means the impress upon a coin. Wow. And he got the job of deputy controller of the Chester branch, and then Newton became the master of the mint in 1699, and sixes and nines are interchangeable, so it was 666. Mark of the beast is an impress on a coin. See, I didn't think this. This didn't hit me until I sat down. A position Newton held for the last 30 years of his life. Wow. He became the warden of the Royal Mint. He was in charge of the recoining. Mark of the beast means impress on a coin. Oh, somebody's saying, no, it doesn't. Well, you know what? I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you that mark of the beast means impress upon a coin. Literally. Literally, that's what it means. This is a moment of transformation in somebody's life right here. Mark of the beast. Mark of the beast. And if they couldn't, unless they had the name and number of the beast, where is that? That's in could not buy or sell. Is that Matthew 24? Could not buy or sell. Where is it? Revelation 13:17. Watch this. Watch this. A little bit of a rabbit trail, but this is the kind of rabbit trail we need. We got to have these because we got to know. We got to know. We got to know. Watch this. Okay, and we're going to take a little break after this, so hold on. Revelation 13:17. Watch this. No one could buy or sell unless he had the mark, the name of the beast, or the number of his name. What's the mark mean? It means a stamp, a sign, an engraving. And if you look at this, it says it was originally what? The impress on a coin. It was originally the impress on a coin. 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 I've forgotten more about this than you know. Just so you know. Just so you know. And what was Newton in charge of? Putting the impressions on the coins in England. And he got that job in 1696. Sixes and nines are interchangeable. 666, which is the mark of the beast, right? And then, see, these are the things you got to pick up. And then he got the job as being the master of the whole mint in 1699, 666. These are not just coincidence. These are not just happenstance. And there's something about 32, but I just don't have time to process that right now. Wow. Here we go. Comptroller. Let's make it to the bottom of the hour, and we'll take a break then. Or maybe I'm going to take it now because, no, we'll take it. I don't know how this happens, but I manage to do it every night, don't I? Well, you know what? I'm just going to stop doing it. I'm just not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to make that particular mistake anymore. It's called reframing, ladies and gentlemen. You should try it sometime. So let's get back over here to my stuff. And let's go ahead and get back into the presentation. And you know what? This probably would be oh, come on, man. This probably would be an opportune time to go ahead and take our break. I think it would. Let's go ahead and take our break. And we'll be right back with more of this after these messages, folks. And we're only here to do one thing. We're here to help you unindoctrinate yourself. And everything that we offer, everything that we talk about is designed for that. I'm Jeffery Daugherty, the Christian whistleblower. You're listening to Late Night in the Heartland. You're watching Late Night in the Heartland. I'm your mailman, and I will be right back after this.
Focus Life Force Energy is a subscription service that activates a high consciousness field. Now, this high consciousness field supports our mission of the optimal conditions for human evolution. So FLFE, or Focus Life Force Energy, works much like prayer. So holding a person in mind, we believe, activates a field around that person. And then whatever you're feeling for that person, whether it's healing energy, love, is now by quantum association in that field. So FLFE works in much the same way, where we have an identifier for an location, whether it's a legal address, coordinates, or an object such as a cell phone. We activate a field, and then we're specifying the conditions within the field.
So we use consciousness kinesiology to write the programs that we have in the high consciousness field. So these programs are positive declarative statements which enhance the field and provide you the opportunity to be your best self, as Jeff said. It supports the mission of us having the optimal conditions for the evolution of consciousness. We also have programs such as EMF mitigation. We also have a brain optimization program. That's brain optimization for the modern world, which assists us with managing the electromagnetic smog that we live in. Helps rebuild the brain during the evening and focus on enhancing our brain functions during the day. And there's many other programs that we won't mention at this time. They're on our website. We're constantly adding more value to the service by adding more programs and refining the ones that we have.
Hey everybody, I'm Andrew from EMP Shield, and today I'm excited to show you our new technology, the world's first whole home EMP protection device. With over 37 models that can be used around the world, our family of EMP protection devices installs easily in minutes. Being employed this year by federal organizations and electrical companies, the EMP Shield has been tested at Keystone Compliance, a federally approved DoD testing facility. Also serving as one of the world's fastest whole home surge protection devices, working in less than 1 nanosecond, the EMP Shield will protect against electromagnetic pulses, coronal mass ejections, lightning, and all forms of power surges. Proven to withstand more than 40 EMP strikes with zero degradation, the EMP Shield is also one of the world's strongest surge protectors, capable of withstanding over 100,000 amps. So, thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like our video and post any comments you have down below. We're sure you guys are going to have quite a few questions, so our engineers are going to be on standby to answer any questions you may have. Most importantly, be sure to share our video, as we're sure your friends are also going to be interested in our new technology. Help us get an EMP Shield into every house in America. Thanks again for watching. Bye.
Well, he didn't really mean thanks for watching. He meant thanks for listening. Thanks for listening. Yeah, you know, we get things that don't work out just perfectly the way you think they're going to go. And I had to go somewhere else, so I didn't notice that until it was too late. But the important thing is you get the good information. And while we're at it, I noticed something over here that I wanted to show you. Since we're talking about Sir Isaac Newton, right? Since we're talking about him, I wanted to show you this, but I'm going to make sure, sorry. I'm going to make sure that I get this one where I want it to be. I'm just not sure how I'm going to make sure I get it to where I want it to be. Because it doesn't want to, it comes up on the wrong screen. And it bugs me. Let's see if I can outsmart it, because I really want you to see this. This is important. This is really, really interesting. Let's see, can I outsmart it? Okay. Can I get to my share button? Can I get to my share button? You know what, guys? This is sort of frustrating. And I've really got to get myself over to OBS so I can do what I want to do. But hey, we're trying. I want you to see this, though. This is really, really good. So I'm going to share. Let me get rid of that. Let's see what comes up. We'll share that screen. And if we put that, okay, here we go. God, can you believe that crap? Sorry about that, guys. So anyway, now I can't figure out how to stop it. It's almost funny, but not quite, because it's rather irritating to me. Now I can't find the damn thing. Where is it? Where is that thing? Oh my. It's got to be somewhere, but I can't find it. There it is. Now can I quit it? I might just have to delete it. And it won't delete. Sorry, guys. I was trying to show you this video of these Navy skydivers. And they're flying over this football stadium because they're going to do a skydive into the football stadium. And the pilot's like, hold on a second, let me get lined up. And he's looking and he's watching, and he waits until he gets himself over the stadium before the skydivers jump out. So riddle me this. If you have to wait until you can visually line yourself up with a stadium for your skydivers to jump out, how the heck would that work if you're flying over a spinning ball? If you're flying over a spinning ball, how does that work? Let me tell you how it works. It doesn't. It doesn't work if you're flying over a spinning ball. And I thought, since we were talking about Newton, this might be a good time to bring that up. It's obvious we don't live on a spinning ball, or else you'd have to drop your parachuters like way before so the spin could bring them over the stadium. In other words, you couldn't do it. Not to mention trying to land a jet on a aircraft carrier in the sea, which is going up and down, which is hard enough. But yeah, it just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, cousins of all ages. All right. We're running out of time. So let's get back into our subject. I got to get to OBS. That would solve all those problems. The actions of the West in building a great, equal, and benevolent society was met with the equal and opposite reaction of the combined Zionism and communism, in accordance with Newton's third law of motion. And Newton just happened to make it up. And we must note the Newton Pasteur paradigm. How about that? Just something to think about. So back to our study of world revolution, Zionism and communism. By the middle of the 20th century, much of the stunning achievements of the West had been lost. A large portion of the West had been surrendered to Asiatic barbarians in the Soviet Revolution in Russia. And the question of whether the remaining West, Germany, England, and America could survive clearly hung in the balance, and it still does. The period that saw this deterioration was also that of the rise of the Yehudin power to a peak of influence in the affairs of the West, which hardly any potentate or pontiff, doctrine or dogma ever obtained. Do you realize that the Yehudins are less than 3% of the population of the United States and almost 90% of the cabinet of Joe Biden? And weren't far behind that in Donald Trump's. German historian Johann Gottfried von Herder wrote, "The nations of Europe have become willing slaves of Yehudin usury. The Zadokim people is and remains in Europe an Asiatic people alien to our world. And it is eternally bound by its claimed divine law to be equally hostile to all alien peoples." Victor Hone said, "We live today in a Zadokim age. We may think what we want, we may think what we like about the past history of the Zadokim. Their present is overwhelming our own, and yet we feign not to notice, and gutless, spineless platforms like Rumble kick you off for telling the truth." I'm glad you found me too, Shailene. It's an alien invasion. And I have to ask, and I'm kind of asking it rhetorically, but they call the Zadokim aliens. They call their God an alien God. How literal is it? How literal is it? Are they literally alien people from another place? Now, we just talked about we don't live on a spinning ball, and I don't think there's other little green men or little Yehudin men that live on other spinning balls. However, I do believe that on this earth that we live on, there are other lands beyond our lands. And these Yehudins, these Zadokim, could very well be literally aliens in that sense. They and their God may have come from another place on this realm that we're not allowed to know about. They may well have even come from another dimension that we're not allowed to know about. But this alien, and how literal is that word? This alien people has become disproportionately important, wildly so, in the dominant constituents of Western life. They've become wildly disproportionate in government. I just told you, 90% of the cabinet, they own all of the, if the politicians were like stock car racers and they had to wear patches of who their sponsors are, every single one of them would be wearing a blue star. Our law, almost all Zadokim. Our science, we've seen it, Pasteur, Newton, almost all Zadokim. Our education, almost all Zadokim. Our media, almost all Zadokim. Literature, Zadokim. Commerce, Zadokim. Finance, Zadokim. We have all become slaves, willing slaves of the Zadokim. Well, Jeff, I'm not willing. You are willing if you don't stop it. These are precisely the things that precipitated, perpetrated, and sustained the world wars. In 1807, Herder wrote, if the Zadokime influence were to gain the upper hand in Europe, we would see an explosion of negative, destructive power. He said that in 1807. By 1907, he had been proven a fantastic prognosticator. Such was the development. Nice to see you, Tony, in Ireland. Such was the development in the 100 years between Herder and English Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain. And they witnessed a fantastic feat of international stage management of the grand scale when the 1917 communist destroyer of nations and Zionist creator of the dominant nation triumphed at the same instant when they destroyed the greatest Western country on earth, Russia. The West has come to this dilemma through the pressure of two millstones, communism and Zionism. The nation-destroying world revolution and the new nation-creating ruling class. Can you see how they work together? The one incites the mob, the other gains mastery over the rulers by buying them and honeypotting them. So the question has to be, are the organizers of both the same? Well, what is sure is that each stage in the ruination of the West, each stage in the ruination of Westmen, each stage in the ruination of Western way of life, Western spirituality, Western decency, each stage in the ruination of the West has been accompanied by successive stages of the return of the Zadokime to what they call their promised land. And it's all perfectly in fulfillment of the law of the prophets and priests of the Zadokime. And here's something that's huge. The 19th century was one of conspiracy. Conspiracy. And the things we witness in the 20th century and now in the 21st centuries are the results. The results. Conspiracy bred communism and Zionism. Communism and Zionism are the seeds of conspiracy. And what have they done today? Why do you think they started calling us conspiracy theorists? And don't feel bad, because I didn't figure it out until early this afternoon when I was talking about this. When I was studying this, I probably got 12, 13 hours into this presentation. They started calling us conspiracy theorists. They started saying, oh, that's a conspiracy, to cover their own butts. They know that they are the ones that breed conspiracy. They know that they are the conspiracy theorists. They know that their world is a world of conspiracy. So in order to deflect the realization of that fact, they badmouth us, as 10,000 Lakes BC says. They gaslight us, as 10,000 Lakes BC says. She's absolutely right. And we accept it. And I apologize. I've said, I'm just a conspiracy, joking. We are not conspiracy theorists. We are tellers of truth. We are unravelers of conspiracy. Communism is a conspiracy. Zionism is a conspiracy. Jesuitism is a conspiracy. Freemasonry is a conspiracy. Judeo-Christianity in both its Roman Catholic and Roman Protestant manifestations is a conspiracy. They are conspiracy theorists. They are conspiracy theorists, not us. We must cease accepting that moniker. We must reframe and challenge that. And we must do it right now. Pedro says smoke and mirrors, always accusing others of what they're doing. We showed you last night, and I'll show you starting next week, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that everything the Zadok-Kim accused Germany of doing to them, they did to the Russians. How do you cover up what you did? Accuse somebody else of doing it. It goes back to their story of Adam and Eve. Adam, what happened? It was the woman. Woman, what happened? It was the snake. Pass the buck. Pass the buck. Pass the buck. We are unmasking their conspiracies. And if you tell the truth, you're right. It's the extraterrestrial people, says Renee, and she's right. Wow. The road to world war. The road to world war was the English, the U.S., and the French revolutions. We showed Monday night that the American Revolutionary War was truly the first manifestation of the Zionist plan to use their money manipulations to guide the course of nations, even their creation and overthrow. We showed on Monday night that the American Revolutionary War was the first great faux banner in American history. It's hard to get more than the American Revolutionary War is the first, isn't it? But the American Revolutionary War, one of the things we hold nearest and dearest, was a faux banner. Washington, father of our country, was a faux banner and a crypto Cylon. And the American Revolutionary War was the first great manifestation, the first great victory of the Zionist plan to use their money, to use their manipulations to guide the course of nations, even to their creation and destruction. Then the French Revolution followed close behind in 1789. For those of you, I was going to say that are Christian, but I won't, because that would be a little bit mean. The U.S. Revolution was in 1776. Then came the French in 1789. And the French provides keys to the mystery and provides more links between the English Revolution of 1640, the American Revolution of 1776, and the Soviet one of 1917. And when we look at these, it reveals the process, it reveals the plan, and it reveals its continuation, and it's never, ever stopped to this day, Pedro. That's where we're going next week. Europa, the last battle. Probably won't be on YouTube, will we? The end goal, likely to be seen very soon, and we are seeing it, will take the form of a world government under control of the organization which has guided the revolutionary process from the start. And this will create one ruler over all the submerged nations, just like Revelation 21 and 22. Have you ever looked at Revelation 21 and 22 with a unindoctrinated mind? I don't know if you have. Let me show you something very, very quickly. And I'm not making a prediction, but I'm saying, wow, this is like, whoa. This is like, whoa, whoa. And it might be like, whoa, W-O-E too, if we don't do something about it. But I just want you to notice that Revelation 21, what does Revelation 21 talk about? Let's take a quick look at it, okay? Let's take a little look-see. Let's take a little look-see. Revelation 21. What's Revelation 21 about? Let's look at the King James Version, bless God. It's about a new heaven and a new earth. In Revelation 21, it's about a new heaven and a new earth. It's about the new Jerusalem. So Revelation 21 is about a new heaven and a new earth and about the new Jerusalem. What's Revelation 22 about? Well, it's about more about that new city where one guy rules with a party of 144,000 and everybody else serves, at least the 500 million that are left. It's about the end. And it says this is what's going to happen. So Revelation 21 and 22 are about the end of our world. We could say they're about the Great Reset, couldn't we? They're about the end of our world, and they're about a time where one person rules from one city with a rod of iron with 144,000 of its own party members, and everybody else, and most of the people have been killed. There's 500 million left in perpetual balance with nature. And they get to come into the city and bring their taxes and bring their offerings, but they don't get to live in the city like the party. A new normal, says Joe. A new normal. But here's what I want you to notice. It's Revelation 21 and Revelation 22. Revelation 22, Revelation 21. What year is it right now? It's 2021, isn't it? What year is it next year? It'll be 2022. I'm not making predictions. I'm just saying that's interesting. That is interesting. That's very, very interesting. Revelation 21, Revelation 22. Might be nothing. Might be something. I don't give you answers. I give you questions. Revelation 21, Revelation 22. Let me roll through this real quickly. The English Revolution of 1640 looked like it was spontaneous at the time to an unattentive observer. But looking just under the surface, it was clear that an English house, the Stuarts, and I want to look them up. I didn't get a chance yet. The Stuarts fell under the financial sway of the Popish, Zionist, crypto-Jewish Jesuits, and the ruling class of the Zadokим supplied the revolutionary dictator with funds and means, and the Zadokim became the primary beneficiaries of the revolution. The English Revolution taught the Jesuits and the Zadokim that the West could, in fact, be bought, and it also taught aspiring tyrants where they could go for funding. Then came the American Revolution of 1776. We thoroughly covered this Monday night. See my Rockfin channel for all the details. Basically, Washington realized he had to have Zadokim money to beat the English, or were they all working together? Revelation only goes to chapter 22. Sorry. Basically, it was more of the same. Washington, the story is he needed Zadokim money to win the war, or was it just a faux banner to expand the biggest business of the Zadokim, which was slavery? How did slavery do in the United States after 1776? Anybody remember? That business was a booming, cousins. Booming. I'm just saying. Then came the French Revolution of 1789. My bad, I didn't change it. Even at that time, it was clear that it wasn't a French Revolution, and that's key. Look at every single revolution that says it's a communist revolution. The English Communist Revolution was done by people from France, including Johann Cohen. Oh, you don't know that name? John Calvin. Yep, that John Calvin. The American Revolution was done by who? Oh, yeah, French people. And paid for by who? Zadakim. Oh, yeah. And then the French Revolution was done by John Calvin, Johann Cohen. There's your Jesuit Jewish tie-in. The French Revolution followed the plan, and it wasn't really French, and the Russian Revolution wasn't Russian. Look at who started every one of these revolutions. Every single communist revolution in the history of communist revolutions was started, funded, and perpetrated by the Zadakim, period. The French Revolution followed the plan for universal revolution discovered and made public some years before. The secret organization exposed had its members in many countries and all classes. In the French Revolution, as in the English and American before it, the Judaist sect emerged as the chief beneficiary, gaining emancipation, being allowed to come back in, exactly as in England and exactly as in America. With the French Revolution, the seeds of their conspiracy and their plan could no longer be denied. And what was it? It was the Illuminati. You look at the Illuminati, you look at the protocols. Which came first, chicken or the egg? Which came first, the Illuminati or the protocols? I guess the protocols. Pedro, the Frenchman, says, French Revolution debunked. Boom. Thank you, Pedro. The proof was provided when, in 1786, the papers of Adam Weishaupt's secret society, the Illuminati, were seized by the Bavarian government. Published in 1787, the original blueprint of world domination, not specifically Judean, and the existence of a powerful organization with members in the highest places was then revealed. Did this precede the protocols, or did the protocols precede it? I don't know. From that moment on, there was no doubt that a shadowy cabal stalked our lands, leagued together to destroy all legitimate governments and steal liberty from the face of the earth. Sometimes manifest as communism, sometimes as Zionism in its many Abrahamic faces. The methods have been revealed. The Duke of Bavaria indicted the Illuminati as a branch of Freemasonry, which puts them squarely in the Zio-communistic Jesuit cabal. All government employees and officials in Bavaria were forbidden to be Freemasons, Zionists, or Illuminati members. We need a repeat of this edict today in the United States of America, or we'll never be free. That's probably what got me kicked off of Rumble. More proof of the origins is that Weishaupt himself was brought up by whom? Jesuits. The aims of the Illuminati: abolition of personal property, abolition of nationality and nationhood, indistinguishable from those of the Jesuits, the Zionists, the Freemasons, and the Christians. Illuminati members share the crypto-Jewish habit of changing their names, which is yet another sign of their complicity. The Illuminati gained such control over Freemasonry that they're essentially indistinguishable today. These associations and similarities put the Illuminati in the place of sharing the central guilt for the activities of the cabal to destabilize the West and bring the world to the brink of total war. And we close with this. Benjamin Disraeli. Thank you, Matt Dillon. Benjamin Disraeli, a former Zionist, repeatedly warned the West against the forces of world revolution. He saw the design behind it. Disraeli identified the organizers as the Zadakim. Why the Talmudic sect took over leadership of the organization that Weishaupt had started, or whether he built on their foundation, or whether it instituted the original revolutionary undertaking, are questions worth asking, worth considering. Protocols, Illuminati protocols. If the ambition of the Judaic world domination instilled through the centuries by the Talmud and the Kabbalah is ever to be realized, the enslavement of the Goys, the heathen, to the chosen people will have to be accomplished, and that will have to be accomplished by some destructive organization like we've identified. Disraeli told the House of Commons in 1852, "Where are the people to stand up in our House of Commons He stood up in the House of Commons and he said, the influence of the Jews, I'm quoting, the influence of the Jews may be traced to the last outbreak of the destructive principle in Europe. Those who place men above others and advocate for the abrogation of personal property all have Jews as their heads, and they constantly align themselves with their creations, the communists, including Protestant Christianity. Disraeli went on to tell us Talmudic Judaism is the worship of Moloch. The leaders of Britain and America lent themselves to this cabal of world domination in the First and Second World Wars, and Protestant Christianity was there to cheer them on and lend its unyielding support, whether of ignorance or intention. Complicit is complicit. Wow. That was what you call speed mode. That was what you call speed mode. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, cousins of all ages. Obviously, no time to open up the phones, unfortunately. No time to open up the phones, unfortunately. Well, I got 1 minute. If somebody wants to make a phone call and spend like 30 seconds dropping something quick on us, go ahead and do it. I think, are they going to open? They're trying to open. There they are. If you got about 30 seconds, if you call right now, 913-279-0831, 913-279-0831, 913-279-0831. John Peter says this is undoubtedly the best yet. When you get that kind of praise from John in Tulsa, you feel pretty good about your night's work. Tomorrow night, folks, I'll be coming to you from somewhere in the great state of Wyoming. That'll be fun. It's late night in the heartland. You got about 30 seconds.
Best show yet, Jeff. John in Tulsa.
John, and that's great praise.
I've got a lot of things I wanted to say about it, but it's just the best. I mean,
well, thank you, sir.
Paul, anyway, we'll talk about it another time.
All right. We appreciate it. Thank you so much, John. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Well, folks, we heard from John from Tulsa, so I feel like we've had a show now. Wow. You're the last generation of real humans. You've made my day. Late night in the heartland. Jeffery Daugherty, I salute you. We'll see you tomorrow night from somewhere in Wyoming. Unindoctrinate yourself.